tiny metallic sphere, no larger than a small pea, was still there. He closed the case with an annoyed snap. He had seen the curious glances the compulsive habit had drawn from his fellow resort guests. The general curiosity had intensified when word had spread that he was a time traveler, around whose latest expedition into the past clustered some very odd rumors. "Is it still there?" asked a familiar voice from behind him, speaking with the precise, consciously archaic diction Earth's intelligentsia liked to affect. A sigh escaped Jason. "Yes, as you already know," he said, before turning around to confront a gaunt, elderly man, darkly clad in a style of expensive fustiness, the uniform of Earth's academic establishment. "And what brings the grand high mucky-muck of the Temporal Regulatory Authority here?" Kyle Rutherford smiled and stroked his gray Van Dyke. "What kind of attitude is that? I'd hoped to catch you before your departure for, oh, you know, that home planet of yours." "Hesperia," Jason said through clenched teeth. "Psi-5, Aurige 3, as you are perfectly well aware," he added, although he knew better than to expect anyone of Rutherford's ilk to admit to being able to tell one colonial system from another. Knowledge of that sort was just so inexpressibly, crashingly vulgar in their rarefied world of arcane erudition. "And now that you've gotten all the irritating affectations out of your system, answer the question. Why were you so eager to catch me?" "Well," said Rutherford, all innocence, "I naturally wanted to know if your convalescence is complete. I gather it is." Jason gave a grudgingly civil nod. In earlier eras, what he had been through, breaking a foot, then being forced to walk on it for miles over Crete's mountainous terrain, and then having it traumatized anew, would have left him with a permanent limp at least. Nowadays, it was a matter of removing the affected portions and regenerating them. It had taken a certain amount of practice to break in the new segments, but no one seeing Jason now would have guessed he had ever been injured, much less that he had received that injury struggling ashore on the ruined shores of Crete after riding a tsunami. The scars to his soul were something else. "So," he heard Rutherford saying, "I imagine you plan to be returning to, Hesperia without too much more ado, and resume your commission with the Colonial Rangers there." "That's right. Those special circumstances you invoked don't exactly apply any longer, do they?" Rutherford's expression told Jason that he was correct. He was free of the reactivation clause that had brought him unwillingly out of his early retirement from the Temporal Service, the authority's enforcement arm. He excelled himself, so he thought, by not rubbing it in. Feeling indulgent, he even made an effort to be conciliatory. "Anyway, you're not going to need me or anybody else again for any expeditions into the remote past in this part of the world, are you?" "Well, that's not altogether true." "What?" Jason took a deep breath. "Look, Kyle, I'm only too well aware that the governing council of the authority consists of snobbish, pompous, fat-headed old pedants. Like you, he sternly commanded himself not to add. But surely not even they can be so stupid. Our expedition revealed that the Toloi aliens were active, dominant, in fact, on Earth in proto-historical times, when they had established themselves as gods with the help of their advanced technology. The sights and sounds on my recorder implant corroborate my testimony beyond any possibility of a doubt. And even without that," Jason's hand strayed involuntarily toward his pocket before he could halt it, "rest assured that no one questions your findings, and that there are plans to send any expeditions back to periods earlier than the Santorini explosion." Rutherford pursed his mouth. "The expense of such remote temporal displacements is ruinous anyway, given the energy expenditure required. You have no idea." "Actually, I do," Jason cut in rudely. "Ahem. Yes, of course, I realize you are not entirely